Running a business is difficult. Having eczema is difficult. Running a business within eczema is even more difficult because it's like you don't have an escape from skin, because it's like my work life and my personal life. My brother's been struggling for 18 months with steroid withdrawal. Like it takes like a mental toll on you.
Could you do me a massive favour and click follow or subscribe button? It helps the podcast out so much. Hello, welcome back to the Mixtape Podcast. So I'm joined by Lauren Bell, the founder of Cosi Care. So yeah, how are you doing, Lauren?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on this. I've been like excited to do it. I know we've been trying to arrange it for like weeks.
Yeah,
so yes.
No, it's exciting to finally get you on. And obviously we met at the Algae show. Was it back in 2019?
2019, which is like 3 years ago now, which is just mad to think.
Was that your first time at the show?
So yeah, when I did the Algae show the first time round, when I remember you coming running up to me with like these tote bags.
Oh
like,
my God,
hi!
yeah. Well, we got all these tote bags printed at work for free to try and get
so
people.
excited about it, I could
trying
tell.
to get people to come to the show because I didn't think anyone was going to come. It was my first time at the show as well. So it's crazy to think like since 2019, we've been there every year, haven't we?
Yeah, pretty much. I've done it every year. But yeah, that was basically the first time I'd shown the brand, the product to anyone. So it was kind of like felt very vulnerable, showing
Putting
things.
Yourself out there.
Putting myself out there. I was there with like my mum, my dad, my brother, and my boyfriend. And we had 5 prototypes that I like made myself, like bit of silicone, bit of metal, had like this cool box to keep them cold. And it was kind of just an opportunity to be like, look, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. Do you like it? Like to test it on people.
And if no one's heard of like Cosi Care before, would you like to kind of explain it to the listeners who might have not heard of it before?
Yeah, of course. So Cosi Care was kind of born from a personal experience with eczema. And me and my brother really struggled with scratching. So eczema, as if anyone suffers with it, you will know, it's really itchy. So I wanted to design something that would cool the skin, help people relax, calm itchiness, and almost act as a substitute, a safer substitute to scratching. So you could get the relief, but without the infections, the cuts and the scarring. So essentially it's kind of like an itch relief product for instant relief, and just helps people live with the condition a little bit more comfortably.
So like growing up, is it something you had since a baby, you yourself and your brother?
Yeah, so my brother had it since he was 3, really quite severe, and he was kind of on steroid creams most of his life. I had it super mild when I was maybe like 7 or 8, and then I kind of like grew out of it. So for me, eczema wasn't a big deal in my childhood. It was more kind of focused around my brother and like how he managed with it. That was the inspiration. But I think when I went to uni, that's when I got stressed, and then that's when I had my first kind of adult
like
flare.
A breakout kind of thing.
And it kind of literally went from there.
What happens on like the steroid cream? Because I don't know too much about this. Like, is there like withdrawals effect to like not using it after a while? Or?
Yeah, it's strange because it's not widely recognised, I think, especially within the NHS, because steroid creams are one of the only mechanisms that kind of doctors have to help people with eczema. So what you find is that you start off on maybe a mild hydrocortisone. You might have patches on your hands and you use it, and then it might, because it suppresses the immune system, it can quite easily spread, and then you're prescribed more and more severe creams, and it can kind of quickly kind of spiral. So my brother was on steroid creams for over 15 years, gradually put on more and more kind of harsh steroid creams, and because his immune system was so suppressed, because it kind of impacted his body on such a deeper level, it impacted his nervous system, it impacted how his body produced hormones, like it impacted so many things internally. When he stopped, he didn't have a choice to stop actually, because the steroid cream stopped working. He had this massive breakout, and then through the research I was doing with my brand, I was like, actually, Reese, I think the steroid creams are causing this condition, because you no longer look like someone.
It's actually making it worse.
It's making it worse, and it turns it into a completely different thing. So he started off with having eczema on localized parts of his body, but it turned into a drug withdrawal. He was almost like an involuntary drug addict towards the end, because what he was going through was no longer eczema, it was a drug addiction, and it was impacting everything.
What are the side effects when he does go off it and that withdrawals, like what kind of, how would that like affect him?
It's pretty crazy, because it impacted the way his body regulated kind of temperature, and so he felt incredibly hot when it was freezing outside and cold when it was warm. It was like his body couldn't regulate temperature. His skin would kind of he looked like a burns victim. Like his nervous system, he was bright red, so all the blood's at the surface of his skin. He was crusty, oozing. It was like the symptoms that he was showing were so far removed from what eczema should look like. It was just like, it was almost like, I think for me and my family, it was like, how didn't we realise this sooner? That this clearly was.
Is it within like the family? If you've got a family member which has eczema, then the most likely the sister or the sibling might have it as well.
It's definitely like a genetic condition in the sense that, you know, my father has eczema, my grandfather has quite serious dermatitis. So it is like genetically, you either you're prone to it or not. But I think what happens with eczema is that your environment can trigger flares. So if I was in an environment, for example, where I was around pets or dust, or if I ate something that my body disagreed with, my symptoms would get more severe, and that, you know, that's why I would flare. So it's genetic, but in a sense it can be quite easily controlled with what you eat and what you do, because it's to do with your environment as to how severe your symptoms are.
But they say it's very linked with like allergies as well. If you've got eczema, then because I didn't realize this until I had a guest on the podcast, and she was like, oh yeah, like it's so heavily linked that if you got eczema, you're most likely gonna have allergies, which I thought was like super interesting.
It's really interesting, because I didn't actually realize this until about maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, because like I said, I didn't really have a big issue with eczema throughout my childhood. It's only when I went to uni that my eczema got really bad. I started using steroid creams, and it got progressively worse. And then quite recently I did an allergy patch test, because I found myself in A&E like 3 or 4 times with serious facial swellings. My eyelids would swell, my face would like ooze, my tongue would start to swell. And I was like, this is really strange.
What is happening? What's going on? Yeah.
What's going on? And I thought it might be something that I was eating. It could be something that I was being exposed to that was kind of causing it. So I ended up paying privately, because it's like a 2-year waiting list through the NHS. And I keep in mind, I was going through like this traumatic thing, and I just wanted answers, because I stopped wearing makeup, I stopped drinking, I stopped going out, because I was paranoid about what was causing these flares. So I ended up thinking, right, I'm going to see a private dermatologist. I'm going to get a thorough patch test and figure out what's happening. And I'm glad I did that. So I literally went to this guy in London, and he did a patch test on me, and I found out that I had quite a severe allergy to nail varnish and paints.
No way.
So I was like, all of a sudden it all fell into place, because every time I would go to an event or a night out, I would get a flare up. So in my mind I was like, it must be the alcohol. I must be having a reaction to the alcohol, or it must be something that I'm doing for a night out. Maybe it's a bit of makeup that I'm wearing that I wouldn't wear day to day, or it's something that I'm doing that I wouldn't normally do. And I was like, that makes so much sense, because I paint my nails. I never paint my nails, and when I go out I paint my nails.
To go out.
And I was just like, oh my god, it makes so much sense. But it was like such a relief to have an answer, because it was driving me crazy not knowing.
So what happens with nail varnish now? You just can't use it at all.
I don't go. I walk past a nail salon and I get like anxiety. I'm like, I don't even want to get like a waft of air on me, because I'm like scared about a flare, because I'm actually allergic to like acrylates. So it's kind of like the specific ingredient in like acrylic nails and paints that cause the flare up. So I'm happy, like if it means I don't get a flare up, I'm happy to not have pink on my nails. It doesn't match.
Well, it's good job we're getting the flat painted on Monday, so it's good job we're doing this before. Imagine if you'd walked up and like wet paint.
I would have been like, oh my god, I can't do it.
I'd love to kind of learn more about yourself, like growing up. Obviously you've got Cosi Care now, which you founded, and like entrepreneur. I mean, what was you like as a kid growing up? Was you always quite confident, or what's your story?
I always liked drama, so I was like the little drama kid. I was always described as bossy as a kid. I was always like, had an opinion, had something to say. I was academic, so I did okay in school, but I think I was the chatty one. Like I always had something to say. So I think for me in school, it was quite challenging, because I was always just like labelled off as, right, Lauren, you're asking too many questions, or Lauren, right, you don't need to like ask that, or you don't need to shout about this. So I always felt very kind of like shut down in school. And that's why I like drama, because I could be like,
express yourself and get out there kind of thing.
And I was saying to my mum the other day, it's like, was I a really annoying kid? She was like, no, I loved you. You were never annoying, but you were a handful. Like you knew what you wanted.
And you went out and got it.
You just did what you wanted. And she told me this story about myself that just always cracks me up. So when I was like 3, I would always like help my mum put the shopping away, right? So she would come in, obviously, mum or 2, she just picked us up from nursery, whatever. She just wants to get the shopping in. And she would put it away, and I would be fuming in because I wanted to put the shopping away. So I would literally get the shopping out of the shelf, put it, I would wait, and then I would do it myself.
Oh
she was
my
like,
God, that's
you were just stubborn and like you just wanted to do things yourself.
Yeah.
So I guess like growing up, I was probably like the bossy kid and a bit
Did you ever
irritating.
imagine, like, now, obviously, you've got Cosi Care, like, did you ever imagine, like, being your own boss when you was younger?
I don't think I really like pictured that I would be doing this. I always knew that I wanted to be kind of in a position where I could like make a difference or put my opinions across. Like I never thought I would do well like just following orders blindly or like being in a role that where I couldn't like
express yourself,
put my stamp on something. So I always thought like I would be in a position where I would like be creative or kind of make a difference, but I never really pictured myself being like running Cosi Care. Like I didn't probably have the tools in school to know how to do that. I think it's only when I went to uni I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like entrepreneurship is a thing, running a business is a thing, and this is what I could do.
It's so interesting because I for me I had that kind of breakthrough. I think it wasn't until I got to college where I had like someone who like believed in me. Before that I felt like there was like, oh, you can't achieve this or you can't do that or you can get all D's, and like it wasn't until I got to college where someone kind of like believed in me that I kind of got that confidence in myself. Was that the same for you then at uni?
Yeah, I think so. I think with school, it was very academic. So unless you wanted to be a doctor or a maths teacher or something academic, I don't feel like my school was equipped to like deal with you. So it was kind of like I was very creative. I love drama, I love design, but equally I was okay at maths and like I understood like I could do that side of things. Did you feel a bit
lost then, like where?
I didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
It was there wasn't a clear path for me. So after school, I ended up working in a call centre for 2 years. It was really miserable because I was like, oh, I don't know where I fit and what I need to do. And then I did a bit of research into like product design, and I ended up deciding, okay, but I'll just do design because I love design. I didn't feel like
Why product design though? I was going to ask you that. Was there a specific reason you chose product design over graphic design, for example?
I thought about doing fashion for a while because I was like, oh, I love that life and that world. It was like really exciting. But I was like, it's very restrictive. It's kind of like, unless you want to design clothes, that's kind of what you're taught and that's what the course is. But product design, I did actually do one of my modules was graphic design.
Oh, amazing.
So that's what I liked about products. It was like really broad. It was like you could design a bike or a medical device or a pair of shoes or sunglasses. Like it was so broad, and you basically got taught like all these different sections in design. So we did a bit on human factors, so designing around the human body. We did engineering, so we had maths lessons. We did workshops. I was physically in wood workshop and plastic workshop, making things with my hands. And then equally we were doing like presentations. So that drama side was like fulfilled as well.
That kind of like, the confidence and to kind of go out and speak to people you never spoke to before, to kind of definitely I imagine that helps later on when you come down to pitching Cosi Care, like.
Exactly. Like it helped me a lot because it was like you have to pitch your idea, you have to kind of have confidence to do that as well. Like design, I got the best of both worlds with loads of things that I wanted or that I enjoyed. Like I didn't have this big strategy of I'm going to do product design because it's going to get me here. I was just like, I like design. I read up on the course and I was like, oh, you can do a little bit of everything.
How was your experience at uni? Did you really enjoy it?
I hated my first year because I can't draw, and it was all around.
First year is like the most fun year because you're going out all the time. Like.
I was out all the time. Like that side of uni was amazing, the social side, and I met like friends for life. Like I'm still like I'm meeting Kira, who I met in uni after this podcast because like very close. Like so uni, I met some like really good friends, but like from the course side of it, I got for the first time in my life I was getting D's, and I was like, oh my god, I'm doing something so wrong. I was like, it was horrible. I felt like a failure because I couldn't draw. So all first year was focused around sketching, drawing, communicating your ideas through that. And I'm not a strong drawer. So I remember ringing my mum like, oh, this isn't for me, like I'm gonna leave. And she was like, look, stick it out for another year because the next year is when things came in, like graphic design and using your laptop and different ways of communicating. So when that came in, I was like, oh, I found my feet there. And I was like, I love that side of it, as opposed to like having to focus on like that specific skill
side, and then in final year, is that where was it you could do like your passion project, something like you really enjoy doing?
Exactly, yeah. So like, so it was a 4-year course. So I did a year in industry as well. So I worked for this lighting company.
A lighting company.
So like designed like bespoke lighting.
How was that? Was that good? It sounds quite cool.
It was fun. It was fun. Like it was like in this cool little design studio in East London, like working with like real serious designers, like projects that are like hundreds of thousands of pounds. Like it was like in the deep end. I was most of the time in the workshop or like not doing like not being exposed to like the bigger stuff. So it wasn't like, and I think that's what made me realize like, oh, I don't know if I want to work for a design studio like long term. I just felt really restricted doing lighting, and
it's very like niche as well. Like if you wanted to kind of branch out from that.
Exactly. And I didn't feel, and this is not like slagging off lighting designers, but I was kind of like, it didn't give me that passion. Like I wasn't solving
like the fire
this big
in your summit kind of thing.
Exactly. I wasn't solving this problem for someone. Like I wasn't making this. Obviously, we were making beautiful products that sat in like most like beautiful buildings around London, and it looked beautiful. But I was like, oh, I want to solve a problem for someone that's struggling with something. And I think that's when I realized like I wanted to do like either like a medical device or look at more of like the medical or kind of just support people day to day.
What was your like initial like train of thought during that time where, because I think for me as well, like Make and Tain come from final year degree show as well.
I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
And like it's always interesting where I started off in packaging. I thought I wanted to like rebrand the EpiPen, and that's how it started. Then it moved on to create a magazine. What was your first kind of train of thought with like Cosi Care, or what was the initial idea?
So for me, it was kind of like, for my final year major project, the challenge was to solve a problem through design. So that was like the basis of like what we had to do. So I was like, okay, right, I want to try and solve a problem of girls wearing heels on a night out and doing a flat pair of heels, and I was like, oh, that's a bit naff. And then I was like, right, okay, I want to solve.
You can fit in your handbag. Afterwards,
just that. And I was like, oh no, I didn't give me that fire. And then I decided to look at. I was like, right, let's start off with my family. What issues are my family having that I could solve through a product, a service, or something I could adapt to help them? So I was like, oh my god, it like hit me in the face. I was like, my brother struggles every single day with scratching, like without fail. 10 times a day, we say, Reese, don't scratch. Reese, come on, don't scratch
and
now.
It's like bleeding. Is it like,
it's bad. It's bad. Like, it was bad. It was like physically obvious. It was impacting his life on an hourly basis. Like he thought about it every second. It impacted his mental health. You could tell he was like really struggling with it. And it was just always a given. It was almost like we didn't think about it anymore because that's just Reese. That's what he's going through. We just have to try and like support him where we can. So I was like, hang on, he scratches. What if I could design something for Reese when he was 3 so he could use it so he wouldn't get into that habit of scratching, and it would ultimately help his condition, help his mental health, give him something that looked like a toy so it wasn't like this super stressful thing. So that's kind of where it started. So it started off as like this massive turtle covered in like metal balls.
I've seen it was huge.
It was massive.
I read about it and then I actually saw a picture of it and it was like, it was like a massive toy, wasn't it? Like, with like, how many balls did it have?
So it was all handmade. It was like a 20 kilogram wooden shell. There was 126 holes that I had to drill.
Oh my god! It's all handmade as well.
It was all handmade. Well, I CNC cut it, which is like this big. So we put big blocks of wood in, and then it cut based on the drawing that I did on CAD. But it came in 6 parts, so I had to then glue it together, hand finish it. I did like stencils, drilled all the holes, put all the balls. So it was like a.
How long did it take then?
So it took about 6 weeks, and I was the only one of maybe like 10 people on my course doing like a physical. Everything else is 3D printed. But I was like, no, I'm here once. We've got these beautiful workshops. I want to like make the most of it, learn a new skill, and just try and like roll my sleeves up and make something. So that's when I made the turtle. And I thought, it looks fun. It's something that a kid could have in their bedroom. But I think I quickly realized that it wasn't viable as a business. I couldn't make 1,000 of those turtles because it probably would have cost millions.
Was that until... So obviously you went to the degree show and you kind of you showed the product. Did you get quite a lot of attention then in regards to like what was the next steps then kind of making the product and then obviously going to the degree show to kind of show it off?
It was weird because it was like it got a lot of attention because it was just massive. Like you couldn't ignore it because you walk in.
I was surprised how big it was when I saw the picture of it. I was like, oh my god, that's huge. And then like you're saying like you made it handmade.
It was weird because like the turtle was like one product, and then I made these like magnetic stars that were on the turtle's cheek. So the idea was that was one for the home, and then you could take the stars off and you could take those on the go. So the stars were always there. But it was like when I went, so after university, I got a bit of attention at the degree show. I was approached by the Central Research Lab, which is like a hardware accelerator in London. So they take on kind of creatives and people with ideas and try and help you create a business from that idea. So they took one look at that turtle and they went, you can never make a business from that turtle because it's like hundreds of parts. It can't be manufactured. It's not realistic to make that into a business right now. Maybe when you're 3 years down the line, you got a bit of money to invest in larger products. But think of something more simple, more handheld. And I looked at the Star. I was like, maybe I could start off with the Star. So I took that project to the Central Research Lab. I spent 6 months trying to turn that into a business.
I've seen the first prototype because it's different to the one that I see you selling now,
Yeah.
where it's like individual bottles.
Yeah.
What was like the stage between that and then realizing? Did you have to simplify it even more then?
It was like a long process. So I made like 50 prototypes and like 3D printed all these versions, different materials. And originally the Star had balls that rolled.
Yeah.
But what we found is that hygiene, so I kind of broke it down to 3 key categories. I needed it to be offer relief. I needed it to look fun, but I needed it to be clean and hygienic and suit and wouldn't cause more harm. So if you can imagine, you've got like 20 tiny roller balls, someone with eczema who's shedding skin, who's using moisturizer, that builds bacteria, and it was just like, guys, this isn't going to work. So we actually tested the sensation versus mini rolling balls and just bumps on a plate, and when you combine it with the moisturizer, they actually didn't feel that different. So I was like, oh my god, okay, so I don't need to have these rolling balls. I can just turn this into a plate with the bumps.
Did they give you funding then? Obviously you have to do all the different like prototypes to kind of find out what it is, and that, I imagine that costs money. Did they help then in regard to like funding the prototype to get it going?
Yeah, definitely. So I got my first £5,000. I felt like a millionaire. I was
oh
like,
my god, that's amazing.
I got £5,000 like to spend on this project. Like, it felt amazing. So that funded the initial prototypes.
Did that go quite fast?
I was like, oh my god, £5,000 isn't actually that much when a 3D print is like 30 quid. You're doing 50 of them, and then maybe you want to test some material that costs a couple of £100. Plus, like, your commuting.
Was you doing that all like out overseas as well in regards to the 3D, or was that
all in-house? So the Central Research Lab had like a workshop, 3D printers, access to like all these mentors, so it was all like very contained. So that was cool because like you were exposed to like all these creatives that are doing a similar thing. But the money, like you said, went quite quick. But that was like a stepping stone to raise further funding. So I was put up for like Santander Awards and Mayor London Awards and all these different things. And quite quickly I was getting like £20,000, £25,000, £50,000, and that's how I think that first £5,000 was like the stepping stone to get in where I needed to be with the product, I think.
Yeah. And I was going to say, obviously, the Mayor of London award, amazing. I mean, you won that as well.
Yeah.
How was
cool.
that experience? Like, did you ever imagine that you was going to end up winning? And how was it like pitching like in front of all these like massive judges? Like?
Yeah, it was weird because I applied for the competition and I was I'm not suitable for this. Like, I just didn't feel like the brand was ready. I didn't feel like I fit perfectly into like a category, and I was kind of like, I just thought, oh, I'll go for it because, you know, it could be a nice experience. You pitch at City Hall, you get to meet other businesses. I turned up, there was like 300 businesses, hadn't prepared a pitch. I just don't think I fully comprehended what that situation would be like. So I turned up and I was like, oh, I'm going to speak from the heart, just tell them what I'm doing.
Was it like a was it like a slideshow, or was it just like
just you with a mic? You had
you with a mic.
You with a mic. You had 2 minutes, and there was like a timer.
Was it?
Yeah, you were sitting in City Hall with all the other businesses watching. You had a panel of judges, and my last name's Bell, so I was first, right? Because they did it alphabetically.
Oh no!
So it's like, right, Lauren Bell, and Cosi Care. So it was like first, like no one else had an A business, so I was like first, right? So I went down, and I just went for it. I just thought like, I'm only here once. Like, I really want to show myself.
It's probably quite nice in some ways going first. That like
get it out of the
way. Like rather than like you hear all these other people and then you sat down yourself and then like you didn't even have the opportunity. It's like, I'm just gonna go straight for it.
I just went for it, and I'm a waffler, right? So I can talk for hours, and I was just like, 2 minutes. I was like, there's a you got to be like to the point. So I told them who I was, what I was doing, what I cared about, and like how I could like help people. That's basically what I focused around, is the vision. I wasn't like going into like stats, and because people get bored, you have to like almost just be like, look, this is my mission, kind of thing.
I imagine you brought it home, like obviously you want to make it quite personal as well, like because obviously it's your brother. That's where the whole kind of products kind of come from, like.
Exactly. It was like, I think I did well because I was talking about my brother and like why. I think people care about why you're doing something, not what you're doing.
Yeah.
You could be reinventing the wheel, but if you don't care about why you're doing it, no one cares. So it's kind of like, tell people why you're doing it, explain to them like your core values, your experience, and then people are like, oh, actually, I've got a cousin with eczema. I get that passion, or I've got a mum that's lived with this her entire life. I can relate to you.
Have you heard of a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek?
I've heard of it. I've not read it.
I've read most of it. I think like I still need to like finish it off, but that's like so interesting now about like, if you start with why, then like people believe in the mission,
people
and
empathize
what you
with
actually stand for.
Like, because you're pitching to people, right? So you don't want to bomb, because I obviously then we had to sit there and listen to the other pitches, and there were some fantastic businesses and products, but they just drown you in statistics, and they bore you with like, and they don't speak in layman terms. It's kind of like they've got all these technical jargon, but I'm like,
language,
like explain it like you're talking to a 5-year-old. Like get a 5-year-old excited about your product. If they understand it, then anyone's gonna. And that's not dumbing it down and being patronizing, but it's like, make sure people can understand you, because if they don't understand you, they switch off and then they're on the phone, and then they don't care about who you are and what you do.
It's probably getting the judges like first thing as well, because everybody's like rather than like, imagine if they've gone through like 200 people, then you're next.
Let's say, what about you gets them excited. And like I did a lot of pitching workshops at the Central Research Lab, and through the Maryland, and I did this fantastic workshop with this guy called Mark. I can't remember his last name, but honestly, he like taught me how to pitch, right? And he was like, pitch like you're telling a story. So don't start off with a business plan or financial forecast. You literally tell a story, and you tell them about your journey and like everything else. And I was like, that changed my pitch completely, and like that's when I started.
So it's completely different then. So like the main thing you learned from that was like, tell it like a story. I read the book called like TED Talks, and that talks all about like storytelling and how to like kind of like pitching, but also just like presentation, and how you kind of like tell a story. And if you make it personal, people just engage with that. Was that the main kind of advice you got from, was it Mark you said? So there was this guy Mark at the Maryland that did this pitching workshop, and he was like, honestly, so inspiring. Like I can't underestimate his name. Honestly, I feel bad that I can't remember his last name. It's really bad, but I'll get you the link, right? Amazing, I'll get you a link to his like business and stuff, because I think he does like corporate like corporate pitching workshops. So he goes into like businesses and helps people pitch, right? And the way that he spoke was so engaging, and he spoke about him and his journey, why he cared about it. I was instantly engaged. It wasn't like 1 in 5 children have eczema. Did you know that these many people suffer with itchiness? The NHS statistics. Some people talk like that like on Instagram, and I just like completely like
you switch off
as well. And like I think with like short form content, like you've got to get like the hook within
straight
like
away.
The first like 2 seconds, and then like tell a story, but then don't give it away till the end of the video. I feel like there's so much that I've been like there's a guy called Ali Ababble, I think, on YouTube. And he's just like this, he was like an NHS doctor, but he's doing like YouTube on the side.
Oh, cool.
And it's all about like, he's so inspiring. Like he talks about like books he's read and like the takeaways he learned from the book. And he did this whole like template of like how to create a video, and like how you should like pitch yourself, or how you should like structure a video. And I've been using that, and it's been really good actually.
It's good. There's like a science to it, I think.
Yeah,
and
100%.
It's not like, it's like an emotional science. I think how do you win people over? How do you get people to care about what you care about? And if you show that you're passionate, people like think, oh, she cares, I want to care. Like, well, she care. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of like,
you can't like, when you're passionate about something as well, like you can't lie about it. You can't fake it. Yeah, that's a better word. You can't like fake it. Like you've got it in your stomach. You got that fire. And I think when you speak to camera, or when you speak to people, like people can kind of like resonate with that when you're like super passionate. I feel like the best piece of content I've done is when I'm pissed off. When I've got that fire in my stomach and I'm annoyed with something, because I think people then, it gets them like fired up as well. You know, when it is like something quite personal, which affects me and like other people. Like,
and like running a business is hard, and like doing what you do is difficult, like being motivated to talk about allergies and raise awareness. But I think like for us, because we deal with it day to day, I see my brother in physical pain every day. I'm physically struggling with it most days. It's kind of like you never lose sight of what you're trying to do, because you feel it every day.
It's around you. Like,
it's around you every day. And I think a lot of people wake up and think, oh, I want to start a business. Okay, why? I don't know. I want to make money. I want to have this cool podcast. I want to have a cool TikTok, whatever it is. But ultimately, when the days get tough and when you think, my God, I can't get over this hurdle, I can't get over this challenge, you just have to think, no, hang on, I've got to do it because I'm doing it for my brother. I've got to do it because people are in
agony. It just
agony.
gives you that
and
fire to like go
honestly,
through. Like, and I think it is so important to kind of start with why. There's so many times where I've had ideas to do something, but then I think about like, why do I want to do it? And if money's the only reason, then it's not the right thing. Just don't do it at all then, because like you say, like when times do get tough, you're gonna be like, oh, I can't be bothered
and it's like it's that resilience to like keep going because you care about the overall problem. And it's like day to day, or what I always try and do is picture what I'm trying to achieve and like the world that we could live in if there was more access.
I just want to take this moment, like living with an allergy can be difficult, definitely when doing like food shopping and trying to find food which is safe for you, because a lot of brands now have obviously the kind of the may contain warning, and you never know whether it's going to kind of be safe for your allergies. So I'm so excited. I partnered up with Good It's Gluten Free, and it's a completely free from brand, free from peanut, tree nuts, sesame, egg, milk and gluten, and it's a free from like wraps and meal kits. So they do like fajitas, like hoisin. Honestly, it's incredible. They also do katsu curry as well, which I've never had before, so I'm super excited to check that out. So it's great to kind of try different cuisines or food which I've never eaten before, and it's completely free from my allergies. And if you guys want to check out Good It's Gluten Free, I'll leave a link in the description below. It's also available Asda as well. Let's jump straight back into the podcast today. Like, what is your day-to-day life like? How does it look like running a business? Like,
so my day-to-day, no day is the same. It's because I have to be quite reactive because we're quite a new business. You know, everything, so many different things change. So there may be an issue with manufacturing that I have to react to. There may be, you know, something that, a trend that I want to jump on TikTok because it's very relevant to like our niche. And, you know, you have to be quite reactive. So no day is the same, which kind of keeps things interesting. But I think I always get really put off by entrepreneurs that are like, I'm up at 4, I do a 4-hour workout, I only eat chia seeds. I do work
out at 5 a.m. before
it's like, it just makes everyone else feel shit, and it makes everyone else feel like it's unachievable, it's unattainable because I'm not running a marathon before 6 o'clock every morning and I'm not journaling. And I respect people that do that because I do think it's important to have structure, but equally you have days where there isn't structure and you do lay in bed because you're stressed, and you do have moments of like, you know, self-doubt and imposter syndrome where you're like, I'm not good enough, I'm not God, like it's true. And like I think the world of TikTok and social media, you could quite easily get sucked into, because I'm not an athlete and because I'm not waking up at 4, I'm
like
failing.
Comparing yourself, like when you see other people doing better than you, but then when you actually kind of look back of like what you've actually achieved, if you actually like, you're like, oh my God, I've actually achieved all this, which I never would have thought of.
That you could imagine.
But then like, it's weird. I got to a point with Make and Tame where I kind of set out a list of stuff I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But then I got there and then I was a bit like, I felt a bit lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it sounds like, I don't know, like, but like one of the things, like, I'll explain it. One of the things was like, one day when I started it, it's just like, right at the start of Making Say, I was like, I love to like talk about allergies with BBC News. Like, honestly, I was
and you did that. Yeah, that was like, amazing.
It was always on the top of my, I was like, oh my God, like one day, hopefully it will happen.
Yeah.
And it's happened twice now.
Amazing.
And it's like, well, like where what's like, and you achieve it, and it's such a good feeling, like, and you're so happy. But then it's like, well, what's next for the blog? Like, how can you help more people? How can you reach more people? Like, do you create a product or do you create an online service? And it's just like one goal at the minute I think about is like, write a book. Like, it's that ongoing like thing, like you reach your goal, but then like it's like, where do you go next? Do you kind of experience that a little bit as well?
100%. And I think that's like the mindset of an entrepreneur, like 100%. I think especially like what we do, we're trying to do something that's very personal to us. It's never going to be enough, because I feel like when you achieve something, it's always like, oh, I could do bigger, better. I want more. I want more people to be aware of this. I want more awareness around steroid creams and topical steroid withdrawal. I want to speak to more people. I want 3 offices. I want hundreds of employees. I want to make a difference. I want to change the landscape of how the NHS manages chronic illness. Like, it's never going to be enough. And I think that's across the board, because if you were just sitting there and thought, oh, okay, my goal was to present on the BBC and you've done it. Okay, what you sit back and relax. I don't care about allergies anymore. I've
Yeah,
done it.
it's just like,
it's not going to happen,
it's
is
like,
it?
oh, I wanted 1,000 followers, and you reach 1,000 followers, and it's like, I want to reach 3,000, and then it's like never, it's
never enough.
Yeah,
but it
like,
is a dangerous
it's
place
amazing
to be.
because like you've got to, like you say, revert back to that why as well. Why am I doing it? I'm doing it to raise awareness and to educate people and make people feel empowered about their allergies. So I think sometimes when I get into that mindset, I need to take myself out of it and be like, you need to start with why you're doing it rather than being like, because that need for more can be very dangerous, because it just leaves you in a place of always feeling like you're underachieving or always feeling underwhelmed. I was going to ask you about like lockdown and like mental health and like how, if you're open to kind of talk about the podcast. I mean, how's that been for you, like with the business with lockdown, or did
it's hard?
Has it been a bit struggle? Like?
I mean, to be honest, like I've got such a great like support system, like my partner, my family, like we're all very close. Running a business is difficult. Having eczema is difficult. Running a business within eczema is even more difficult, because it's like you don't have an escape from skin, because it's like my work life and my personal life. My brother's been struggling for 18 months with steroid withdrawal. Like it takes like a mental toll on you. And you know, you do have days where you think like, I can't do this. I really can't do this. And I think it's just about controlling the voice in your head, because everyone has insecurities. Everyone has moments of like, you know, oh my God, I can't do this. Like, this is massive what I'm trying to do. And these goals, like I write out, you know, I have meetings with my business partner and we list out like where we want to be in 3 years. And sometimes I think like, God, I sound like an idiot because like I can't do that. And then you have to like shake yourself a little bit and be like, but why can't I? If all these other people can sit on TikTok and achieve these things and sit on social media and shout about all these amazing things that they're going to do or they want to do, then why not me? And you just have to like shut down that voice, that in your
inner
head.
Voice sometimes, which just like questions
it's
you.
Intense.
Like, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Like even with like the podcast, like some guests, I don't know, like not sometimes, but you just like you question yourself, like, oh, like, am I good enough to be answering these questions? Which is ridiculous, you know what I mean? Like, why shouldn't you be?
Everyone's you know, on a level. Everyone can achieve whatever they want to achieve. It's just about like how you approach it and your confidence and what you think about yourself. And like I see so much of like manifestation, and that's like hot topic at the minute. Like it's like you have to believe it, you have to speak it, you have to think it, and it's true. Like one of my closest friends is a neuroscientist, right? And when I was going through because I went through a really challenging year when I was having my facial flare-ups, you know, I was having issues with my contact allergy to nail varnishes, and I hit a point where I wouldn't wear short sleeves. I wouldn't want to leave the house caked in makeup or, you know, with sunglasses on, because I was like really conscious of like how I was looking. And I had a drink with this friend of mine, and she was like, look, no one is looking at you. That is your perception of yourself, because you've been through this trauma of having eczema and having these outwards physical symptoms that, you know, that is visible.
How old was you when you felt like it started affecting your like confidence?
Only in the last like year or so. Like it's weird. It's like only
so like recently,
like as a kid didn't bother me. In uni could deal with it. It's only in the last few years when I was having those facial flare-ups that it completely knocked my confidence. Like I was honestly, I would hide in my bedroom for months, because I was like, I don't want people to see me like this. I feel weak. I feel unattractive. I hate this about myself. Like it was really like, it took a massive toll. And the only person that probably saw me like that was my partner. So he was also dealing with me in this like state of like, oh, I'm ugly, I don't want people to see me, I cancelled social events, I wasn't outgoing, as like I'm naturally like, I like people, like I like chatting to people, like
getting out there,
but I just wasn't like that. So I went for a drink with my friend, and I it was the first time that I told a friend, not my partner, how I was feeling. And she was like, that is in your head. No one is looking at these tiny parts of red skin on you, or, you know, no one's judging you. You need to shake that insecurity, because no one is judging you for that. You're still outgoing. You're still you. It doesn't matter that you have bits of eczema. It doesn't impact you. And she explained something to me that I thought really interesting. And she was like, that thought pattern that you keep thinking every day, that my skin means I'm not good enough, means I'm unattractive, means I can't go out the house. you're exercising that thought pattern like a muscle. So if you go to the gym and you do arms every day, those muscles are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So if you keep exercising that pathway in your brain, that thought process is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and it will seep into other elements of your life. So if you think, oh, you know, with the business, for example, it would go to, oh, but I'm not good enough because of my skin, because I'm weak. But, you know, that thought, that pathway in your brain is like a muscle.
Goes into like different parts of areas of your life.
And
so
it's so
it
interesting.
just kind of stopping that like kind of chain of thought.
It's about I think the first step is acknowledging that your brain is just a muscle, and it's got all the. I mean, I'm not a neuroscientist here. My friend is, but she said something to me, and I was like, "My God, that makes so much sense."
Get her on the podcast.
I know, honestly, she is amazing. She's so amazing. The way she explained it, I was like,
I love that. Yeah, she like breaks it down in such a simple way. Yeah,
such a simple scientific way. It's like, it's not you, it's not your personality. You're just exercising a pathway that's damaging your mental health. So break out of it. So every time I felt, because I recognized that it was a pattern that I was getting into, recognizing it is a big thing, and saying that you want to break out of it is another big step. So I was like, right, I'm not going to think this anymore. Every time I looked in the mirror and I saw my skin, and I would go into that, oh, I really don't like how it looks. I might not wear this top because it shows it off. I was like, no, I look great. I'm beautiful. Everyone has an insecurity. It's not going to stop me. It's not going to ruin my day. And I would do something that I like. So I would eat something that I enjoy, or I would go for a run, or I would go for a nice meal with my partner, or I would speak to a friend. Like, and I think doing something that fulfills you or makes you feel good in those moments when you want to get through that, or you want to go through your usual pattern of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to do it, I don't deserve it. Just do it. And I think within like a few weeks, I felt such a shift. It was honestly so weird. And it was like, it was just a thought. My own thought process was damaging my life. And I was just like, I'm not going to think like that, because no one else thinks like that about me. No one thinks I'm worthless because I've got a rash. No one thinks I'm not successful within my business because I'm having a flare up. Like, that specific thing that I'm so insecure about, the world doesn't see, so I shouldn't let it kind of stop me. And that sounds a bit cheesy, but like that a bit of advice.
It's amazing how like
me.
One conversation with a friend, and like I'm glad that you actually like, because some people just like keep it to themselves and like not tell anyone. So it's amazing that obviously you kind of spoke to your friend about it, and that completely like changed it. I mean, I remember when I was away, like I got like really anxious one day, and like I listened to, I think it was like Calm or like Headspace.
Oh right,
and that was really good. Like how like when you feel like anxiousness or anxiety, just like acknowledge it, like don't try and like pretend it's
suppress
not there,
and
acknowledge it, and then just like obviously do the breathing exercises, which really help as well. So it's amazing to acknowledge that. So with like Cosi Care, so what's the plan for the next couple of years, and do you have like a kind of set goal which you want to achieve?
Yeah, definitely. Like there's big changes happening in the business at the minute. A few things that I can't talk about. I really want to, but I feel like over the next month, like I can definitely shout about it. But essentially I'm working on 2 new products, which is like super exciting. So I'm hoping to launch a few new products, add to the range.
Amazing.
Really looking to work with the NHS. Like I think it's really important that I work with the NHS on trying to overcome education around steroid creams, trying to adapt the way
I was going to say with steroid creams then, because it's quite interesting. I got one the other day just for the holiday.
Oh, okay.
So I was suffering with, oh God, I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Was it like heat stroke
or flake?
Psoriasis?
So it's not psoriasis, but it's like bad like
ichthyosis.
What was it when you get flakes in your hair? Like
dandruff.
Oh my God. It was so bad. I was like,
I was going through like all the medical, and you're like, no, dandruff. Right.
So like I was like using all these like anti-dandruff like shampoos and stuff. So I went to the doctors, and he was like, oh, you don't have psoriasis. He's like, your scalp seems fine. Like maybe it's linked to your allergies. So he just gave me like a shampoo, but then he did give me a steroid one.
Right.
But then my girlfriend was like, don't use it. And I was like, and it was quite bad. It gets like quite red sometimes. It's fine now, but like, so I used it once. But now I'm a bit like, should I just avoid?
But the thing is, right, people, I think when people explain they want to use steroid creams, or they've used steroid creams, there's a bit of shame attached to that. And I don't think anyone should feel embarrassed or shameful about what they choose to do with their health.
I feel like after speaking with yourself, like is it best if you don't have to use it? I don't have to use it. The guy said just use it if it gets really bad. But he said, he's like, don't use it often.
Yeah.
He's like, only if it gets like really bad, use it a little bit.
Yeah. I think for me, the important thing with steroids is that everyone is educated around the potential risks. So if you are aware of the potential risk of steroid cream and you make an informed decision about your health, like, look, I want to use it because it makes me uncomfortable, absolutely fine. I think what's missing is people are given steroid creams, but they're not given the bigger picture. They're not offered.
You didn't tell me anything.
They're not offered the risks. And you know, okay, you could argue, yeah, but the risks are listed on this tiny little piece of paper that we give you with the steroids. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
You need to explain to people what steroids will do to your body and alternatives, because I work with a natural doctor now, so I very rarely go to my GP. I work with a naturopath, because for every steroid cream that they prescribe, there's probably 100 different options that you could be using, natural options that would help it just the same, and it doesn't come with this like long list of risks.
And has that massively helped you now? Like
100%, 100%. Honestly, so the two things so when I was going through the worst of my skin, I was having those flare-ups, I was like, saw my eczema really deteriorate. The two things that I did is I got a patch test and I figured out what my body was allergic to. I think that was really important. Second thing I did is I saw a naturopath. So with a naturopath, they look at you as, it's almost like a bespoke service. So they look at your body, you know, what's going on in your body. Have you got mold issues? Have you got any issues with your gut? Have you got issues with something that you're using in your home? Because I've got asthma. So, you know, was I spraying something in my home that was impacting it? You know, all these different things. And, you know, I work with herbs. I work with monitoring my diet and living a healthy lifestyle, exercise, like never undervalue, like living a healthy lifestyle. And like all these things I've learned about in the last few years, because it's like, you know, I don't want to run to my doctor and get a steroid cream because I understand the risks now. And I think, like, equally to like, I'm
just
not,
like speaking with you now, I feel like so much more like educated about it, because I remember at the time he's like, oh, like, you don't have like psoriasis on your head, so you don't have that layer on top of your scalp. So it's just like, oh, like, yeah, try and use it if you really need to, but like, don't use it like every day.
But your dandruff could be caused by a hair product. It could be even caused by something that you're eating. It could be something in the home. Like, I think sometimes steroid cream, for me, in my view, is like a last resort. If you have all the education around steroid creams and the risks, if you've tried all the natural options, if you've understood what your body could potentially be reacting to, and you're still not comfortable and you're still not getting the answers, then explore steroid creams. I'm not saying that, you know, oh my God, I'm going to shame people for choosing steroid creams. Like, how dare you, how stupid are you? Like, I would never do that, because having eczema
is just like difficult. Giving them like the tools to like make the
giving them
decision.
The option. And it's all around education. It's about educating people around what could potentially happen.
And I think that leads quite nicely onto like kind of like TikTok. So I've seen a few of you like TikToks now talking about like eczema, and like some videos have got millions of views. Like,
it's weird.
Would you like surprised like you just put a piece of content out there, then like millions of people like comment and like and view it? It's
very unnatural for me to be vulnerable on social media. I think it's a done thing, right? So people like, you know, are naked, or they're you know, they're showing their insecurities, which is brilliant. And I think it's like very freeing to do that. I think my biggest insecurity is my hands. Like all my life I've had, you know, being called grandma hands, or, you know, people are, even at work when I'm like 24, 25, being like, oh my God, why are your hands like that? And I'm like,
what the fuck?
It's none of your fucking business. Like, why are you asking? I was like, why are you asking? I would never ever comment on how someone looks,
someone's appearance.
Someone's appearance. So I did get that a lot, and it was my biggest. Even shaking someone's hand, I would like get so nervous. And when I first met my partner, like going on dates and things like that, I'd be like, oh, just let you know, like, if you want to like touch my hands, like, I have got eczema. Like, it's something that I'm so insecure about. And I thought, you know, TikTok felt like an environment where it was so open, like everyone's speaking about their insecurities. And I had that video saved in my drafts for like a month. I was like, oh, I can't put that out there. The way my hands look, I was like, I felt like, oh, I can't, people are going to make fun of me, and like, it's just not very nice. But I was like, do you know what? One day, I literally just didn't even think about it, just recorded it, put it up there. I went to bed, I woke up and I had like 300,000 views, and I was like,
What the fuck?
I rang my mum. I was like, Mum, I've had like all these views and all these
Yeah.
comments, and then all these comments started coming in like, oh my God, my hands are like that. Oh my God, this is amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And then it grew and grew and grew and grew. And then the other comments started coming in. That's not your hand. That's your nan's hand. That's your nan in the background. And I was like, oh
What
my
the fuck?
God, I'm crazy.
You always get one person always saying something.
And it was like, and then, so it hit like 9.2 like million views. That's what it's
got
currently
9 million
on.
views
It's
now?
got 9 million views, right?
What?
Plus,
Last time I saw it, I think I had like 3 or something.
yeah,
4 maybe.
it's like it went a bit mad, and I was just like, this is mental. Like, I'm gonna be known as the woman with granny hands.
No.
So I was like, right. I put out on TikTok, I was like, everyone post your granny hands. Show me your hands. Like, I want to see
Yeah.
your hands. So it started off a trend. Like, all these young women and
Oh, I
men
didn't
were
know
like
that.
showing their hands. And I was like, oh my God, so many people have this. I'm
Yeah.
walking around hiding my hands, and hundreds
So
of
many
thousands of people are
yeah,
doing it as
experience,
well.
yeah.
So it was nice. It was like the first time I was vulnerable, like really vulnerable
Yeah.
on social. And I was like, I loved it. I loved,
Yeah.
obviously you get the dark side that's like taking the piss and like calling your
That's
grandmother.
amazing though, isn't it? Like, just to find other people like yourself and like to know that you're not the
Yeah.
only one. Like, so yeah, that's incredible.
And
like.
it's like, I'm not as like insecure now. Like, I'll
Yeah.
talk about my hand. It's quite freeing because it's almost like
Yeah.
saying it before they can say it. It's like,
Yeah.
my hands have aged because I use steroids, and
Yeah.
impacted, it thinned my skin, it impacted how I reacted to
Yeah.
the sun and all the rest of it. And like caused like premature aging and scars and things like
Yeah.
that. But I'm just like, it's fine. Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't
like-
matter. No one's looking at your hands. My partner always says to me, "Lot, no one's looking at your hands."
No one's gonna like the first
No
thing
one
to meet you, like
cares.
look at someone's hands.
And
yeah.
plus, for every person walking around, for me, walking around insecure in my hands is someone walking around insecure about their hair or their hairline or their their height, or
all the time,
all
like,
the
yeah.
time. Yeah, everyone
I'm paranoid
has
about
a
my
thing.
hairline. I feel like it's going further back,
Oh,
like,
so
as I
you-
get
but
older.
I would
Yeah,
never
but like, but
notice
no one
that.
would know. My
Yeah.
girlfriend's like, just stop being stupid about it. Like, no one ever
one
know. Like,
cares.
yeah.
No. Everyone is so concerned about themselves.
Yeah.
No one is judging
It's
you.
like in the gym as well. When you walk into the gym, you think everybody's
Everyone's
watching, but
watching you.
everyone's bothered about like what they look like.
It's like a main
yeah.
character complex. You think like
Yeah.
you walk in and it's like, oh my God, everyone's staring at me. But it's like,
But they're
no,
not,
everyone's
yeah.
worried about themselves. Everyone's got their own
Yeah.
anxiety and own insecurity. Like,
Yeah.
no one cares. So it doesn't matter. Like, and
Yeah.
it's reassuring to know like everyone, there's so many people with like issues with their skin, because it
Yeah.
makes me feel less of a
Yeah.
strange
I was gonna say
person.
like with your brother as well. Has it brought you closer together in some ways? With obviously both struggling with it, and obviously now launching kind of like Cosi Care. Like.
Oh yeah, like in the early days, he was like my guinea pig with products. Like, he
Yeah.
would try them out and stuff. But it's definitely brought us closer. Like, he
Yeah.
can be like very vulnerable with me and my parents, and like he cries
good.
a lot and gets really upset. And like we've been through
Are you
it
quite a
with
close
him.
knit family then? Like,
Yeah.
you're really close. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There are times where it's really hard and we argue
Yeah.
and we scream and shout, because he's going through a very physically demanding condition. Like,
Yeah.
his skin's falling off, he's burning, he's bleeding, he can't shower, he can't change his bed sheets. Like, it's hard. So there are times where it's like, oh my God, I want to kill him, because he's like, it impacts his mood, his anger. But
Yeah.
we are so close. Like, we share so much information and support, because I'm researching it every day, he's doing the same. So
Yeah.
it's like we're on the same wavelength, and I FaceTime him every day. Like, we
Yeah.
are really close. And it's definitely brought us closer together,
And he's a bit younger. Yeah.
So he's 24.
Yeah.
He's been going through topical steroid withdrawal for a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And it's been rough. Like, it's been really hard.
Would he just need to ride it out then? What?
A lot of it is to
Yeah.
do with time. Like,
Yeah.
interestingly, me and my brother are on a bit of a different page with topical steroid withdrawal. Because I went through
Yeah.
minor withdrawals when I stopped steroid creams, which I think contributed to my reactivity to things as well.
Yeah.
And I went to a naturopath and transformed my diet and my routine. My brother, on the other hand, was a bit more reluctant to do that, because he really believes that it's a lot to do with time. Because it's a drug withdrawal, it just needs to burn out of your body, and you need to give your body a chance to rebalance. And
Do you reckon he'll do the same thing what you did? Then,
I'm
at
like
some point?
chipping away at him. I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, like, cut out dairy and gluten. Maybe that will, help give your body a bit of a break. Maybe, because I'm a big believer in balance, and I think that if you eat a really well balanced diet, if you eat the rainbow, I try and eat 13 different colours of fruit and veg a day, because it helps with your gut health and everything else. And I'm trying trying to get him on board, but he's a 24-year-old bloke. Like, he wants to go out drinking. He wants to, like, do you know what I mean? He doesn't want to think
it's
about
funny,
that.
as I got older, I've had to cut out like milk, so I get oat milk now, and like vegan butter, and like it's just crazy as you get older, like your body like changes.
It is weird. And I think, like, if 29-year-old me was talking to 21-year-old me, she'd be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you not eating this and this? So, like, you grow a lot when you go through an allergy or an intolerance or something that impacts your health. You're forced to adapt, and I think that's what I went through, and I think gradually my brother's kind of coming around to the idea.
I was going to ask, like, what advice would you give to like someone else out there looking at potentially starting a business?
Okay.
Get going?
I think just do something that you care about. Recognize that it's going to be difficult, and you need to make sure that you're passionate about it, and also don't have this perfect picture of when to start, because I have a few friends that are like, I want to start a business, but it'll be when, you know, I get the house that I want and I'm settled. It'll be when I'm at this point in my career and I can afford to leave my job. There's never a good time to do it. You have to just start, and like, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be messy. You're going to have to make mistakes. You're going to have to, like, just go for it, and it's not going to be this perfect structure of an entrepreneur. It's just
you could do like the best like business plan, but then it's just like doesn't really matter. It's just taking that that first leap kind of thing. Like,
a business plan is only worth the paper that it's written on. You can have a plan, obviously that's so important. You have to forecast, you have to have that picture of how you get you know, where you want to be, but you have to act on it. If you're not physically out there speaking to people, acting on what you want to achieve, you know, making the plunge, then your business plan is just going to be that. It's just going to be a business plan. It's not going to actually like come to life, I guess. So just go for it. I know it's a bit generic, but I think just like acting on what you want to do is like so important, because it's so easy to
just taking
plan like
and
for
talk
years
about it rather than actually like you said, taking that action and taking that kind of like first step.
Definitely. 100%.
I was gonna say thank you so much for kind of coming on the podcast today. It's been great. Obviously we've been talking about this for a while now to kind of finally get you on. I was gonna say, in regards to kind of like the community we kind of spoke about earlier, in regards to kind of Cosi Care, would you like to discuss that a bit more?
Yeah, of course. So we're a really small team. It's literally just me on the Instagram. So if you want to join the community, reach out, vent anything if you want to ask any questions, like please feel free to like follow us, get in touch, join the conversation, and drop me a message. I'm trying to build like our TikTok as well, raising awareness around steroid creams. We've got a trend going at the minute. I don't know if it's ended now. I'm like an old woman.
What's the hashtag for that?
So no, it's not a hashtag. It's like you have to show your hand. So if you have eczema on your hands and you felt that insecurity, like jump on that trend, show it off, because there's so many people doing it now, which is amazing. And just kind of like give us a follow, really, and because we're always inventing new products and like trying to help people live with eczema.
And your website, is it cosicare?
So it's cosi-care.com.
Okay.
And then Instagram is at cosi_care.
Yep.
And then it's the same for TikTok as well. So we're trying to build our TikTok. So cosi_care is the one to follow
TikTok's
on there as well.
Platform now, innit?
Loving TikTok.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Honestly, it's been so interesting to learn about steroid cream, like eczema, Cosi Care, and like you kind of the whole story behind like Cosi Care. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Bye.